and basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
Time for the Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay pod right here on CLNS Media, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Well, Bob, we're still waiting for the games to begin.
Yeah.
Things have been a little slow, but not for Steph Curry, who is going to play an additional year. So he's going to play for 3 more seasons, and he makes an additional $62.5 million. Obviously, when you look at the prices, we understand it is what it is. The owners are making money. Everybody's making money. The players are making money. But what do you think about Steph in the final 3 years? And is there any way he can match what he's achieved thus far?
If he retired today, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
No doubt.
He gets acclaimed as the greatest, by more people than won't, as the greatest shooter that's ever lived, because he has made expanded range normal. He gets his shot off anywhere he wants. There's no such thing as guarding him and keeping him from doing what he wants to do, which has been, the way you go after great scorers historically, try to keep them from getting the ball to start with. And when it doesn't matter, he's going to get it and he's going to do what he wants. And which includes, by the way, driving, where he's underrated as a great driver with either hand. Okay. He keeps in shape, obviously. We have a model. He's got a model now in his Olympic teammate, LeBron, to go and be highly viable at 39. Historically, this would be a breakthrough, because the only other people who have lasted this long with any level of proficiency, if they've lasted this long at all, we could look it up if we wanted, were big men. We've got big men into their 40s. Kevin Willis went into his 40s. Robert Parrish, who still has played in more games than anyone, went to age 42 or 3. There've been big men that have gone. Kareem was pushing 40 when he retired, and he was still not the Kareem of old, but he was still a very, very useful player. Anyway, but guards traditionally, don't last this long. But then again, guys last longer now. Conditioning's better. Conditions are better. Blah blah blah. And the motivation to play because of the money is there too. The money is. I mean, we say we take it for granted, but I got to give you some examples of where we've come from. Okay. Now, first of all, when you said about 62, someone not conversant with the economics of modern sport might think you meant for the next 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
No. Let me clarify this, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a neophyte sports NBA enthusiast who doesn't understand the economics, that's the 3rd year of the contract. Right. According to what I am reading in the Morning Boston Globe, he will get, and I love the phraseology here, quote, about $55.8 million for the season, about, quote unquote, $59.6 million for 25-26, and now about $62.6 million, the most the offers could offer by league rule. So theoretically, they could have offered him $62.7 million for 26-27. I'm not doing the quick math on that because I'm terrible at arithmetic, but that's just a boatload of money. It begins with an S, actually, what I wanted to say. So, yeah. But the point is, it's so far beyond comprehension for any of us, and maybe even for some in other sports. I'm just going to give a couple examples of where we come from. It was famous in circa 1960, whatever it was, mid-60s. Well, it had to be, late 60s, because late 60s, what am I talking about? Wilt Chamberlain signed a $100,000 a year contract with the Philadelphia Warriors. Maybe by that time he was in San Francisco with them, and it was a record. Bill Russell's contract was up. So Bill Russell said to Red, I want more than Wilt. And he signed for $100,001.
Right.
As a ceremonial. That was the astronomical. When Cousy retired, he was making like $30,000.
Bob, can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
What were you making in 1965? Were you at BC or were you at the Globe?
I was still at BC, but I can tell you exactly what I made as a Globe summer. Well, even as my first year when I came back and was on the payroll, I think I was taking home in the summer of 1969, $72.50 a week. And fortunately, my wife was teaching and working. We were a two-income family, which is about the only way we could afford an apartment anywhere, let alone, So, yeah, I was making $72.50 a week in the summer of '69.
$72.50.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
a
cool.
week. But I just like one of the things is when we talk about things like this, I always want to make it relative because what I experienced in the media is I never thought I would make the money I made covering the Celtics. So that's times 52. So you made about $4,000 a year. I just did the math. You made about $4,000 a year.
That's what I was taking home for the months, for several months until I got on the official payroll in October of '69. And I don't remember exactly what that was, but obviously it was in something in excess of.
So it was under 10 grand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And my wife was.
So my point is like Wilt and Russ are making 100 grand, maybe a little more by then. You're making 10 grand where, you see the difference. But the point I want to make with this money is that, that 100 grand for Russ or for Wilt, allowed them to live obviously very comfortable, right? Just like for the longest time, athletes, they drove nice cars, but they still had second jobs. So it's kind of like they were making money like doctors and lawyers, right?
Yeah.
But now they're making Bezos money. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They've got over 5 million active members. Look, it is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike all the other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. That's it. Now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Now, here's an example of a player projection lineup. You could be going Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards or Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards. On the other end, Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. You like those picks? So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
When I got on in the early years in the '70s, and I know that I wasn't making that much less than the players at the end of the bench. Okay. I knew I wasn't making that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm making 40 or 35, and they're making 50 if they're lucky. I think. It wasn't that big a gap. I know when Don Chaney left the Celtics, it was because to go to the St. Louis Spirits of St. Louis. I think it was they were offering like $250, and that was really extraordinary. Red wasn't paying that for Don Chaney, right? Although he did come back to the team eventually. Havlicek was lucky he was making 100. But when let's just advance one more time to 1979, rookie Larry Bird, his first contract was a record-breaking rookie contract of $650. Right. And very impressive. And the Red had as a matter of fact, as I recall, the owner had to move in and make it. Red was still gritting his teeth. That was, it just couldn't comprehend it or couldn't deal with it. Right. But, so the owner steps in and signs him. So what they're saying today is, of course, I just did the math. Like 100 grand in 1965 is $1 million today. Okay. Yeah. But so that's $1 million today. It's not 65 million for 1 year. No. So this is my point here as we break this down, is that we have seen, so the Steph Curry of 1965 was making 100 grand. That's $1 million today. Yeah. I mean, everybody makes $1 million in the NBA. I mean, that's, oh my God. That's not even, so the salaries have by times 65 million.
If Russ was playing today, he'd make $1 million. But no, Steph is making $65 million. That's how much the salaries have gone up. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I say often about Russell. Can you imagine what the 29-year-old Bill Russell would have been worth on the open market today? You know, I mean, exactly who he was in this open market, the best rebounder, the best defender, the best winner in sports, and he's a free agent, which of course did not exist in that in his day.
No, he's making 65 a year. He's making this money.
So yeah, so all right, back to Curry.
Sorry.
It's a lot of that's okay. I hope he can. I mean, what the hell? The Warriors are making a leap of faith here that he'll be viable, worth this for 3 more years. Obviously, if you want to, our last memory of him is pretty good.
Sure.
The world's lost memory of him is pretty good. The last 4 minutes in Paris. The last 2 minutes and 36 seconds when he hits 4 threes, including one it's going down in history.
Well, he needs help. I mean, it's obvious. Look,
they've been quietly trying to augment the depth in the offseason, including picking up Buddy Hield. And Buddy Hield is he's a AA Curry.
Correct.
Maybe even a AAA Curry, in terms of he's a professional gunslinging jump shooter. That's what he does. He comes off the bench and you say he doesn't have any other major responsibility, shoot your jump shots. And he's good at it. He's not Curry, but who is. So they got him, and they got a rising star, I think, in this Brandon Podziemski, who I paid no attention to in college and was unaware they even drafted him. And have to work hard to remember his last name is Podziemski. I just wrote it down so I wouldn't butcher it in public. But he's pretty good, and they got a little more depth, and they're counting on young players, Kuminga, to get better, and that's also they're banking on one key veteran to be at least 80% of his old self, and that's Draymond Green. He's still around, and they're counting on him to be a factor. They're an interesting team because, in theory, you figure that window is slammed shut.
You think so, right?
I think it's for championship. It is, but be viable, entertaining, worthwhile, competitive, worth the people of the Bay Area going to see. Yeah, I think so.
You just said it, Bob. And this is the issue today. Entertaining. So if I'm the Warriors, it's all about return on investment, right? I mean, look, they're still businessmen. God bless the Grosbecks. They're getting out. They turned, $150 million into $2.5 billion.
It's going to be more than that.
Yeah, well, I split it up. See, they have half the team.
Oh, yeah.
So the team's worth 5. They have half. So I figured they're $2.5 billion. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. It's only $2.5 billion. But but my point is that, like, the way you look at it now, if you're the Warriors, okay, I'm going to spend this money because I'm going to get it back because the television money is through the roof. All right, whether it's streaming or Amazon, whoever's paying. Steph Curry is a brand.
Oh, yeah.
Right now he is the Warriors, Bob. So that's the point. I mean, even with LeBron's the Lakers. The fact is that the Lakers and the Warriors are not going to win a championship. But it is worth to pay Steph Curry $160 million over the next 3 years because of the brand. I've had the chance to see the Patriots win the big game 5 times. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like being there live, right? And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. When you go to the Game Time app, look for the super deal. But you got to go to the app. You got to look for it. Check out the super deal. You won't regret it. With the Game Time app, curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. Don't forget, look for the super deal. See views before you buy. You check out the view before you buy it. How's better? That's nothing better than that. It's like test driving the ticket. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and a whole lot more. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And as I mentioned, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
They have a PR problem that they need to make sure it gets resolved with the way that the Klay Thompson thing did not end
Right.
comfortably, smoothly the way it should have. He
Right.
deserves the best possible send off, and he's he's going to a team that has got a design role for him to contend. They're contenders. He's going to a better team than he left. If he is anything like his old self.
Right. Well, and then, but to get back to the
anyway,
Warriors,
I just trying to throw that in.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're not wrong. But like to get back to the Warriors, when they were winning titles, I mean, and you can even take out Durant if you want.
Yeah.
You still had Klay Thompson, who was obviously better than he is now. You had Draymond playing at full tilt.
Yeah.
You had an incredible bench, and you had Steph. And then you bring in Durant. Now you got a title team. I mean, even when you look at Denver, you look at Dallas, Denver's got their two guys. Dallas has their two guys, though I don't think they're going to be back. And the Celtics have like 10 guys.
No, they got.
I mean, the Warriors just don't have the depth that they once had.
No. Oh no, they don't. They're not winning any championships.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
But here's another thing, Bob. I wanted to ask you about because you've seen it. Steph Curry is a nice guy. He's just a nice guy,
Yep.
And we don't talk about it enough. At this stage, for me, like when I sit back and, I mean, I'm not covering the team every day and all that. And I just like see a player who's just a nice guy. I'm like, great. The Troy Browns of the world, if you will. The Gerard Mayos. Why am I rooting for Gerard Mayo? I worked for him for 2 years, and he's a nice guy. Curry's like and I think there are more of them in the NBA than we realize. I think
there's more of them in sports.
A lot of good people.
There's more than all the sports, but you don't get the headlines for off the grid, off the camera charity work or appearances or gestures that then the headlines for the drunken drivings and the assaults and whatever and that's just the way it is. We all know that. Also, one other thing about Curry that's frightening. There's a segment of a formidable major segment of our population for whom his wife is more famous in the cooking world.
Really? Who's that?
His wife is a superstar of cooking and television appearances, and so she's well known. And so they I can't imagine what their tax return looks like.
Oh, forget it. I mean, it's over $500 million.
So, just remember that he's in a power couple marriage.
Yeah. No, it's just. I mean, obviously, he comes from a great family. His father.
And what the great talk about I was thinking all those hours in the gym perfecting that shot are certainly paying off for that man, aren't they?
Oh, there's no doubt.
And still remember, the Knicks fans are still kicking them. He was the 7th pick of that draft, and I forget who they took. They took somebody that now I'm sure a lot of teams, but he was, what can I say? And
it was Davidson. He was a kid out of Davidson. Nobody thought.
I love it too. He wasn't extraordinarily high recruited, or else he wouldn't have been at Davidson.
Right.
At all. He didn't go to a marquee, power conference school. He went to Davidson, which is, by the way, at one point in history, I remember this, like this goes back 20 or 30 years. They had the highest per capita Rhodes scholarships of any school in America.
Wow.
Per capita, per population. Davidson's an excellent school, and they've been lucky that they've managed to attract good coaches to make them competitive at that level, and occasionally very competitive. And so it's one of the gem schools in America, Davidson.
Bob, before we leave, do you have a story? Is there story time here for Bob?
I just want to tell a story that speaks to the changing times and relationships, and also travel. Where the NBA was as recently as the mid '70s, which is what we're addressing here.
Right.
The Boston Celtics I was covering were going to the West Coast to start a trip, and we didn't even have a direct flight. We had a stopover in O'Hare, and we had a good hour and a half or maybe 2 to kill. And so we were in O'Hare, and we were walking down corridor in O'Hare, and I see these bunch of very tall people coming in the other direction. And as they got closer, it was the Phoenix Suns. They were going west to east for a started East Coast trip. And we both had some time. Everybody congregated in the bar. I mean, players, coaches, trainers, writers. And what it was a fraternity meeting. The NBA was one giant fraternity. We were all in it together, including referees. I had drinks and coffee with referees. And over those years, made acquaintances with referees. And in addition, you knew the trainers on the other team. You knew, you spent so much time in each other's locker rooms. It was just an incredible moment, that is so unimaginable to anyone who's covering the league today to think about. A, that you weren't flying charter.
Oh, right.
B, you weren't flying direct if you were flying commercial. And see this whole idea of that congregation, that fraternity. It was one of the. I wrote about this in my book Celtic Pride, and it's just
what
something.
What team do you remember?
Well, that was. Yeah, that's very good because that was if it was about 75 or so. Well, the Dick Van Arsdale was on the team.
Sure.
Neil Walk
Adams,
was on the team.
Alvin Adams.
Alvin Adams was a rookie in. No, he hadn't gotten there yet. I don't think it was
so it was before 76. It was before they met in the finals.
Right. Oh yeah, they weren't yet the
Yeah.
Suns that they became. John McLeod. I'm not even sure he was still coaching, but the guy I most remember is that they had a famous trainer, Joe Prosky, who was a legend out there that everybody knew, and of course Jerry Colangelo, the owner, who I was been friendly with for 50 years. I don't know if he was with the team, but anyway, it was just a moment, and it's a moment of time that obviously will never ever happen again.
Right.
In any, but that was the NBA, and
Who picked up the tab?
Oh,
How much was it? How much was the tab?
I don't know. It wasn't the press. I'll tell you that. Thank God. So
It might have been a conflict of interest, Bob Ryan.
What we didn't. Well, I don't understand that phrase.
Great story, Bob. Thank you, my friend.
Okay.
All right, Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay pod here on CLNS Media. Brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks.